Seems like all hell is breaking loose today as Donald Trump got very bad news, bad economic data, disastrous, one might say. Inflation is now spiking to 2.7% in May. That's worse than expected. Income is falling 0.4%. GDP is shrinking 0.5% in Q1. It was revised downward, and consumer spending is dropping 0.1%. Donald Trump is freaking out. He held a whole press conference, and I'll cover the press conference in a little bit, but he's been attacking Canada, lashing out at Canada this morning and saying all discussions with Canada are off. We are going to tariff the hell out of Canada. I'll show you that in a moment as well. And he's also telling the Ayatollah of Iran, I saved you from a very ugly and ignominious death. You owe me. Stop saying that you beat us. That is a very mean thing. I'll go and show you his post. Meanwhile, Iran has fully pulled out of the IAEA cooperation deals and inspections as a result of the strikes against Iran, which we now know from U.S. intelligence, European intelligence, and others were not as effective as the Trump regime had claimed. Economist Justin Wolfers over at the University of Michigan, though, says the following: it's quite rare for consumer spending to fall in inflation-adjusted terms. It happened during COVID and during the financial crisis, and it is happening now. Wolfers also points out that it seems, he puts it as a question, but it seems that we're starting to see the first signs in official data of tariff-fueled inflation, and you can see the inflation rising again with that bad report in May. Meanwhile, as you go to Donald Trump's social media platform, you see things like this. This is, I guess, how the social media platform tries to earn revenue. But as you know, Truth Social and Trump Media has been losing massive amounts of money. I think like last year lost like hundreds of millions of dollars, huge losses on like $4 million in revenue. Trump's $150 trillion gift to America. As I look at this photo, I still don't know what this thing is by his ears right there, but it's just grift after grift, it seems, in my opinion. Now, Donald Trump posts the following about Ayatollah Khamenei, the leader of Iran. He goes, why would the so-called supreme leader, he puts that in quotes, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, of the war-torn country of Iran, say so blatantly and foolishly that he won the war with Israel when he knows his statement is a lie? It is not so. As a man of great faith, he is not supposed to lie. His country was decimated. His 3 evil nuclear sites were obliterated. He puts that in caps. And I knew exactly where he was sheltered and would not let Israel or the U.S. armed forces, by far the greatest, most powerful in the world, terminate his life. I saved him from a very ugly and ignominious death, and he does not have to say thank you, President Trump. In fact, in the final act of war, I demanded that Israel bring back a very large group of planes which were heading directly to Tehran, looking for a big day, perhaps the final knockout, exclamation point. Tremendous damage would have ensued, and many Iranians would have been killed. It was going to be the biggest attack of the war by far. During the last few days, I was working on the possible removal of sanctions and other things, which would have given a much better chance to Iran at a full, fast, and complete victory. The sanctions are biting. But no, instead, I get hit with a statement of anger, hatred, and disgust, and immediately dropped all work on sanction relief and more. Iran has to get back into the world order flow. What the hell in the world is he even talking about there? Then he says that he's ending all trade discussions with Canada and will be levying more tariffs against them in the next 7 days. We have just been informed that Canada, a very difficult country to trade with, including the fact that they have charged our farmers as much as 400% tariffs for years on dairy products, has just announced that they are putting on digital services tax on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. They are obviously copying the European Union, which has done the same thing. and is currently under discussion with us also. Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So it's not 2 weeks. It's a 7-day period. All trade discussions are off with Canada. And do you see how he just treats Canada and the European Union like they are the enemies? And again, Donald Trump continues to make the U.S. less and less relevant with this taco routine. It's a joke. It's a clown. It's dangerous. And you see it's now impacting the economic data we have here. But you know from watching the MeidasTouch network that the United States was basically sidelined during the NATO summit while Canada entered into a very strong defense pact with the European Union, which also included very close economic coordination. So then you had this morning, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. We haven't seen him humiliate himself all that recently on Fox, but he's back. We see him humiliate himself every day, but here he goes back on Fox. And Maria Bartiromo asks, so what is the next country we should expect a trade deal with the United States? Who's going to do it? Are you going to get any deal done beyond just the UK before this August deadline? And by the way, note that she's now talking about an August deadline. Wasn't the deadline 90 days, like July 9th? Okay, now it's an August deadline. It's Labor Day. These people are the most pathetic, worst negotiators, and they just lie about everything. Remember 90 deals in 90 days? Remember everyone's going to get $5,000 Doge checks because Doge was going to be so great. Remember you were promised a $5,000 Doge check. Maybe we should file a class action against the Trump regime to give us those $5,000 Doge checks that they promised. And then they said inflation would be down and there would be so many jobs. You wouldn't know what to do with it. Anyway, here's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
What is the next country we should expect a trade deal to do with the United States? Are you going to be able to get some deal announcements beyond just the UK before this August deadline where we're going to hear from the Court of International Appeals?
Maria, you know, with all things, they get done at the end. You have to put on a deadline. You know, as you and I know, nothing gets done in Washington well in advance. So I think a lot of the countries are feeling pressure. As President Trump has said, you know, he's created maximum negotiating leverage for Ambassador Greer, Secretary Lutnick, and myself by saying, like, if you can't get to a deal, he's happy to go back to the April 2nd level. So we have countries approaching us with very good deals. We have 18 important trading partners. You know, UK, China, they are behind us for now. Are behind us. And then Secretary Lutnick said yesterday that he expects 10 more deals. So, you know, if we can ink 10 or 12 of the important 18, you know, there are another important 20 relationships, then I think we could have trade wrapped up by Labor Day. So, you know, we will have taxes and trade, which I think will provide a great stimulus from the economy. And then there's the deregulatory impact.
By the way, I often get asked the research tools I use when I do videos like this. The big one for me that I use is Ground News, which is an essential research tool for me. Go to ground.news/MTN or scan the QR code and you can get 40% off the top tier Vantage plan at Ground News. That's what I use to do all of the research that I do. And one of the features I use for Ground News is something called Blind Spot. And I use Blind Spot to try to show me what's the right covering, what's the left covering, so I can determine, you know, does any specific thing need more attention? So you learn, for example, when you use Blind Spot, on the right wing, they're saying stories like this. 1 year later, the Biden-Trump debate fallout coverage continues. I'm like, who's talking about Biden right now? Like, Biden did a great job. He's done. And MAGAs just want to blame everything on Biden. Or there's this story right here. killing fields. Israeli soldiers ordered to shoot unarmed Palestinians in Gaza. Basically, no one on the right is covering that, and it's getting wide coverage on the left. And something like that should not be a partisan issue. Okay, we should all be able to condemn killing unarmed people, children and mothers and men, unarmed people in Gaza. I think that we should all say that's not a good thing, and that needs to end. By the way, Trump promised that he would end that in 24 hours. Yet another Trump lie. Again, go to ground.news/MTN, scan the QR code, and get 40% off the research tools that I use. Ground News is subscriber funded. They don't rely on ads that can introduce bias. Subscribing supports our channel and their independent team working to keep the media transparent. Thank you to Ground News right there. I like how Justin Wolfers, The Economist, puts it. We're now in summer reruns. Trump began his presidency by targeting Canada with tariffs, settled the spat, and now he's recycling those threats. What hasn't changed is that he's really threatening to tax Americans who buy from Canada. Also, the Trump regime has demanded that Congress investigate Harvard. As Justin Wolfers points out, Harvard is free for anyone whose family income is below $100,000 and tuition free if it's below $200,000. So the Trump administration is investigating it for working to raise tuition prices while offering selective financial aid packages to maximize profits. In other words, if you are rich, you may have to pay more than people who are poor to get an education because education should be open to everyone. And the Trump regime takes issue with that. One of the things that Trump posted as well is he goes, giant win in the United States Supreme Court on the issue of nationwide injunctions. You may have heard about this ruling where the Supreme Court limited the ability to get nationwide injunctions in the birthright citizenship case. The Supreme Court did not say that birthright citizenship is unconstitutional. The Supreme Court said that individuals and nonprofit groups, anybody other than states, can't seek nationwide injunctions unless you file a class action. So states can still get nationwide injunctions. And when it comes to the issue of birthright citizenship, the states are the parties in that case. So it actually doesn't impact the birthright citizenship case at all. And then you can just file as a class action and amend the lawsuit. So it's actually not going to have the devastating impact that some people have suggested. It's still a bad ruling, but Trump goes giant win in the United States Supreme Court. Even the birthright citizenship hoax has been indirectly hit hard. It had to do with the babies of slaves, same year, not the scamming of our immigration process. Congratulations to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Solicitor General John Sauer, and the entire DOJ. And again, it should be noted that during the Biden administration, Trump and his supporters would always have these individual groups seek nationwide injunctions to block Biden, not states, like these individual groups, which they always supported then. And now they're trying to stop individual groups to do that now when Trump's in office. But as Norm Eisen points out, what I said, this is a lie as usual. While I disagree with the decision, it leaves the injunctions of the birthright executive order in place, just narrows them to the plaintiffs. It doesn't limit nationwide class actions, which will be filed to achieve identical outcomes. The executive order remains unconstitutional. Here's a fact, by the way, that I think is not getting enough reporting, and it needs to get more reporting. The U.S. used a total of 20% of its total THAAD defense missile stockpile. That's its basically, air defense missile stockpile in 11 days, costing $800 million to defend Israel from Iranian missiles. So we spent about $1 billion and used 20% of our missile stockpile to shoot down the ballistic missiles from Iran that taxpayers are paying for. Think about how that money could be used for nonprofits and how that money could be used for essential government services and for veterans. But anyway, that's what it was used for right there. Two other data points I think is important to point out. They're trying to out MAGA Trump in Florida. So some ridiculous things we've even seen today. Ron DeSantis went on Fox where they bragged about the concentration camps that he's building for migrants. Here's what Ron DeSantis said. Let's play it.
So, this is going to be, illegals will come in, they'll be processed. There'll be places for them to be housed. You'll have an ability for food. You'll have an ability for them to consult legal rights if they have that, because there is a process that's involved with this. So this is really everything. This is going to be a self-contained little area. And then, of course, you also have stuff for the staff that work here. So we've got laundry facilities, we've got showers, we've got, obviously, there you see the shower and bath facilities.
Yep, right there.
Yep.
Where do you go to get a bunch of bathrooms like that?
Well, so this is being done by the Division of Emergency Management. So when we
Now, you want to talk about the ultimate gaslighting? Here's MAGA Republican Congresswoman Kate Cammack, and she had a ectopic pregnancy recently, and she was saying that she cannot be treated because of the left and Democrats calling out the MAGA Republicans for limiting doctors to treat ectopic pregnancy. She goes, the doctors were so afraid to give me treatment because of the Democrats. Not because you were one of the people who passed the law to limit women's reproductive rights. Here, play this clip.
Ectopic pregnancy is unviable. In my case, I was 5 weeks pregnant. There was no heartbeat, and no ectopic pregnancy is viable. And that's so important because the mother needs care immediately. But unfortunately, women's health care has been subject to the worst politic fear-mongering that you can experience. And so they had actually been receiving, these healthcare providers had been receiving pro-abortion lobby ads to the tune of millions of dollars being spent on these ads that were threatening and scaring doctors away from helping women, saying that they could lose their license, they could go to jail. In fact, in the room, I had nurses and doctors showing me these advertisements saying that they felt uncomfortable because they didn't want to go to jail. They wanted to help me, but they felt like they couldn't do anything. So I literally was laying on the table reading them the law. And it dawned on me as I was sitting there with my husband, this is what women are experiencing because of the fear mongering around women's health care. And it has to stop. The left absolutely played a role in making sure that doctors and women were scared to seek out the help that they needed. And so I think that this is a wake-up call. My story should really bring forward the national conversation that's long overdue about the lack of maternal health care. And really, I think it's important that we highlight that doctors aren't to blame, women aren't to blame. We need to get the politics out of women's healthcare.
Congressman,
That's what's going on this morning. We'll keep you posted with more. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thank you for watching.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.